I guess I've been coining a term as of late. When I mean as of late, within the last 3 hours.
It's very late.
I call it the pool noodle moment.
Okay.
Where you come across such an idea that it's like the pool noodle.
Yeah.
Right. Such an obvious yet eccentric, weird idea that just seems to make sense and it takes off. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything like that in the last 5 years?
I think for us, nothing has snapped into place. Everything has been very difficult, trial and error, and putting in the time and failing tremendously. And we've just never been lucky enough to have something just go, hey, that's actually working for us. No. It's always got to be an uphill battle with Magic Apple.
Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. Life is a fight. In business, every day is a fight.
Oh, my God.
So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes, as always, thank you, John David Wells. Got to check him out at the Wells Report on Facebook, the big voice guy for the show, and I'm hitting other buttons here. Forgive me. This is the What's Your Problem podcast, where we talk to Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals about that one thing, because it's always something that nags at you when you're running a business. I mean, kind of when you're doing anything in life. It's once you accept it's always something, it just gets easier. Well, at least I hope. It did for me. So there we go. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at what'syourproblempodcast.com. And of course, in every episode I ask you, our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal is 10,000 average downloads per episode. So if you can give us a hand, or a share, or a like, or a subscribe, or a review, please do so. We'd greatly appreciate it. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com, and today another returning guest, Mr. Matt Lloyd.
What's up?
With MagicApple.com. You secured that URL.
Yeah, finally.
Because you had Magic Apple technology.
Yep.
Do you still use the technology? Or
that's our emails.
Yeah. But you can get magicapple.com now, right?
Yeah. It's a website. Email. I mean, it's our domain. We just, whatever reason, we've kept the legacy tech on the emails.
Right. It's like, going from the Facebook to Facebook.
Yes.
In a way. So as always, we have something that's kind of cool. We call it the Dad Joke Challenge. We're both dads, so we kind of... There's just something about a dad joke.
They're very fulfilling.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Yep.
Somewhere.
Satisfying.
Do they turn you on?
No.
I don't know.
So, when they're told right, Jim.
Yeah. The Dad Joke Challenge is brought to you by Mr. Ed Fox with Trade Bank. If you're in a business and you have languishing items on a shelf or services that are kind of slowing down and stuff like that, Trade Bank is an option where you can actually trade your services for pennies or products for pennies on the dollar, what you paid for them, for actual retailed value trade with other members in the group. Great way to network as well. I do it for my voiceover services because it's, just me. Why not? And of course, with this particular podcast. So check them out, Trade Bank of Nashville. All the details and everything are in the description of the podcast. And Ed also does all the dad jokes. So the challenge in and of itself really isn't a challenge. It's just 5 fun jokes, gets the energy going. Can you laugh? Of course. Can you groan? Absolutely. Can you comment? I encourage it.
Okay.
Because I've had people on here that try not to do anything, and it's just like crickets.
Yeah.
So,
as dads, we expect good jokes here, though. So.
Right. So Ed is actually the guy who tells the joke. So here we go. Joke number 1.
And sounds like a parrot.
Oh, let me hold on.
A cat. What's orange and sounds like a parrot? A carrot.
Okay.
I mean, it definitely qualifies as a dad joke.
It is. And they typically get better as we go along. So number 2.
Let's test that.
Yeah, let's test it.
As a lumberjack, I know that I've cut exactly 2,417 trees. I know because every time I cut one, I keep a log.
Yeah, that was better.
That wasn't bad.
That was better.
This kind of gets you going for the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Give me the life of the party telling dad jokes. Number 3.
Did you know, no matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 for 3.
Sometimes,
fair.
sometimes they get a little bit better, but number 4, here we go.
Had somebody ask me what dead batteries cost. I said nothing. They're free of charge.
There we go. And it's funny because I'm looking at the actual time left in the file. And for 5 jokes, this one seems to be a long one. So.
Okay.
2 strings walk into a bar. The bartender tells them, "We don't serve strings in this bar." So the strings walk outside, think for a minute. They tie themselves together into a knot, unravel their ends, and walk back in. Bartender, smart guy, says, "Hey, aren't you the 2 strings that were just in here?" They replied, "No, we're afraid not."
I felt like you could see that one coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, all right, it's going to be not here somewhere.
I like whenever I get into an elevator, I always like to tell the one that, once I actually cut a fart in an elevator, it was wrong on so many levels. People either appreciate it or like, yeah, please don't do that.
It depends if you tell it in the elevator, don't do that. My problem.
It was me.
Yeah, I can never remember the jokes when I want to tell them. When I don't remember, I could be sitting there by myself, like fishing or something, be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that joke."
There's nobody around.
Yeah, and then they just fall on deaf ears.
And you have to call somebody to tell them that.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, I'm out here fishing, and I want to tell you a joke. So you good?
Really important.
Very important.
I got 2 kids to do that too, so that's not a problem.
Well, your kids are they're out of the house, right?
Yeah, we're empty nesters.
Oh my gosh.
We're excited about it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a second honeymoon.
With resources.
With resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much better.
Yeah, because you started the business in 2008.
Yep.
And you stuck with it, and you beat the odds.
Yeah, I just celebrated 15 years last, 2 weeks ago.
Right. I mean, and that's the story. If anybody hasn't caught the last time you were on, is that you started right after, literally before the big meltdown of 2008.
Yeah. I mean, the end of August in 2008. So September, everything went south of the border very, very quickly.
Right.
And I always tell the story. We were in a bank that I won't name, a big bank here in Nashville. Talking about maybe getting some funding and stuff like that. Not only did we not get funding, but I felt like they wanted our water bottles back.
Hey, remember when you almost had funding before? Yeah, it's definitely not happening.
Definitely not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, just that.
It was questionable before, but now there's just a solid no.
We watched a movie last night called The Queen of Versailles, and it's about a family, David Siegel, and he owns Westgate Properties, the largest luxury timeshare company in the world.
Okay.
And very well-to-do family, and it studies how they were building the largest home in America, 95,000 square foot home, right in Orlando.
Crap.
And right before everything melted down. And then the whole movie documented how they handled everything. And it's like, dude, even the rich of the rich.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen like the ads for it. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Courtney told me about it, and I was like, I'll check it out. It just sucked me right in.
Well, we'll have to check that out. We're always looking for some good content to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, they're very likable people, even though they're rich. They're really super rich. Yeah. And she's like, well, I guess we're just going to have to stay in this 35,000 square foot house.
We'll just have to make do.
But we are bursting at the seams. She does say that. And it's like, how do you burst at the seams on a 35,000 square foot friggin' house?
All the crap that you buy when you have all that money. You just buy stuff.
All she did was buy stuff. Just every time she was out, like carts full, multiple carts. So you basically got into business out of necessity. You were tired of working for other people.
I got tired of being laid off for other people's mistakes.
Right.
And it happened in that little 2-year span like 4 times, and that's enough to dishearten anybody from wanting to go to work for somebody else. And that's really what did this. We got to the point where I looked at my now business partner Jeremy Apple, and I was like, I think we could do a better job running a business, and we've never done it before. Yeah. And he's like, I'm willing to give it a try. So we did. Right. And here you are. Yeah. And you're glad you did. Absolutely. Were there times that you had like, oh my gosh, let's just throw in the towel? Or was there no doubt in your mind? No. And I think it's because once we started, the growth happened pretty quickly. Not a lot of growth because if you look at our revenue as a small, real slight ramp, it's not any of this stuff. Yeah. But it started happening right away. So we started getting some traction, and then it was easy to stick with it because you always saw some things improve. And every month we got a little bit better.
Right.
Just a little bit, but better.
Well, I mean, you took a legacy business, phone systems, communication, and you have to find the angle, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and lately you've done that. You've started your own podcast.
Yes, with your help.
With my help, The
Which has
Wandering
been
Worker.
super awesome.
Thank
And
you.
You've done an awesome job of making this about as easy as it could and making me look really good.
It's easy when you have good talent. So, for me and what I do, it's just second nature at this point.
Yeah.
I've been doing it so long.
Yeah, you definitely you found a niche here and a knack for doing this stuff. For sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
It's one of those things that, even I appreciate the fact that we had talked about this for probably a good 4 or 5 months before you had your eureka aha moment, because we were trying to figure out of what's it going to be about, where we could call it, and then all of a sudden you found something so congruent with what you do that it's like, as soon as you told me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's called The Wandering Worker, all about businesses who embrace the remote work lifestyle, the nomadic working lifestyle. Because as you're finding out, there are a lot of kids that are coming out of college and getting into the workforce, even out of high school. They just want to be...
They demand it.
Right.
They'll take less pay to not have to go into an office every day.
Right.
And that's one of those things where it's like, for a lot of people, it's a qualifier.
Yeah.
Like they won't even look at a job unless it's at least hybrid, to where they get to be at home, half the time and in an office half the time. That's minimum.
Right.
Unless they are, obviously there's roles that you can't have that with. There's, a lot of the trades you can't do that remotely. But, in medical, some of that you can't do remotely. But a lot of it you can, and people get into those for that purpose of not having to go to an office now. So that's definitely something that they're looking for.
And the gist of the podcast is not just to talk to businesses that embrace it, but it's also to challenge those who just can't wrap their minds around it.
Right. And kind of, understand that they could be missing an opportunity there. Because like we've said, it's been shown that team members are more productive. They get up, they don't have to waste the 2 hours a day, coming and going to the office or whatever. They get up, they walk downstairs, they're doing their thing. They get to save money. Maybe they don't have to do childcare, which could be like, I saw a report yesterday on one of the news stations, like $10,000 a year minimum per kid for childcare now, which is insane.
Yeah.
So if you don't have to do that, you can work from home and you've got it, man, that's great. I mean, a lot of these work from home jobs, you don't even have to talk to people. You're just working on stuff with other team members. So if you got a kid in the background, nobody cares.
Right.
So it's definitely an upside to both a team member and an employer.
What's the biggest objection you've heard from people, though? Guys who are in charge.
A lot of it is they're scared of losing control and accountability.
Right.
And what we've kind of learned, both ourselves as Magic Apple doing remote, and as we've talked to other people who do the remote stuff, is it's about building the right processes and building your culture and everything around the idea of remote, because it is different than everybody coming to the office. Right. If everybody's coming to the office, hey, so-and-so, get this. Can't do that from the house, right? So you got to have communication in place. You got to have, how am I going to talk to each other? Video has to be a part of that, because you got to be able to interact visually with people. And then, hey, do we have a space? Like, we've kind of embraced this whole hybrid idea of having a workspace. We're actually subleasing out half of our office, and we'll probably end up subleasing even more, but still have access to it.
Right.
So if we want to do a team meeting, we got a place to go to do that. We can bring customers and do demos. It's like, how do we make the best of both worlds? Having a space, what does that look like? How do we justify the cost of that? And then how do we let everybody have the freedom of not having to come to the office every day?
Yeah.
And still be productive and work from home. And that seems to be, as long as you got the processes in place and you build your culture around that, then it's a good thing.
I know a guy who just sold his company, and he did nothing but remote work with his company. He actually might be a good guest.
It sounds like he'd be a great guest.
Yeah. I need to reach out to him, and you'd get along. He'd like him. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he just sold his company, and I've known him for many, many years. It was a website development, SEO-based type of website company. And I don't think he ever had a physical location at all.
Yeah. And those type gigs, like one of the people we just had on, she has a marketing SEO type company, and that they've never had an office. They've been around for, 10 or so years, and it's worked out really well for them. That kind of environment, those jobs and those type roles, those are perfect for that.
Yeah.
Because these are people that, probably were freelancers at one point anyway, that worked out of home, and then decided they went to work for a company doing that same thing.
Right.
So having a home office that's just second nature.
Yeah, and it's congruent with your company because mostly what you sell, I mean, the whole industry has adapted to the point where it's a subscription-based industry, almost completely at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because back in, you and I, we worked together back in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And you were still doing hosted phone, or not hosted, but on-premise based phone systems, hanging the unit on the wall and running the wire and stuff like that. Back in the day when I used to have to do that, that's all there was.
Yeah.
There was the notion that, hey, phones may be wireless someday, and it was laughable back in the 90s. But now here we are.
Yeah.
You can literally program a phone system, ship them out to a business wherever they are, and they just plug them in.
Even nowadays, the concept of an actual phone on the desk is kind of going away.
Really?
Because all you need is an app on your phone and an app on your laptop, and you're hooked in.
Yeah.
And as long as that app can do your video, it can do your chat messaging and all that kind of stuff, you're locked in.
Now, for the laptop, you'd need like a headset, I guess, or something, right?
Yeah, you can, or you don't have to. I mean, just a Bluetooth headset, your Apple Pods or whatever, any of that stuff would work with it.
But you can literally make calls from a laptop.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then the great thing about that then is that it also ties into your CRM, and it has all these integrations that you can tie into stuff. And so it's recording that call, it's dropping it in your CRM under that customer. And, it's giving you a lot more data because, we're a data-driven society now. We need numbers, we need metrics to follow and understand how we're doing and what we're doing.
Right.
And the more data you can get from phone calls and things that you really don't get that kind of data right now on an older phone system. To get all that stuff, it's pretty eye-opening.
Is the data considered to be left brain or right brain? I can't remember.
That would be left brain. Creative side's right brain.
Okay, because we just before we started recording this, you were already kind of asking me about the data from the episodes.
Yeah.
Which it never struck me that you were a data-driven person, but was that something that you adapted into?
Yeah, so that all came from when we started doing the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and you have your scorecard, which is metrics. And once I embraced that concept, I started to see the benefit of having those metrics. And so now every goal I have, I'm like, well, what are the metrics behind that goal? Yeah. And how do I start running that down? So whenever we do quarterly, like we have our rocks that we do every quarter. Everybody has a rock of some kind within a 90-day period. And we always tie a benchmark to that. Yeah, so it's just like, so for example, one of our rocks was we wanted to hit a certain number in recurring revenue.
Right.
And we wanted to get that done in that quarter, which we knew we were getting pretty close to. So then we put the metrics of, all right, here's what we need to hit, the first month of the quarter, the second month of the quarter, and then we should be able to get that last month of the quarter.
Right.
Or if the task is, I want to have this project completed, whatever it may be, then you break down, when I have this project completely, what do I need to get done first quarter, or first month, second month, and third.
The mini goals, right.
Right. You set those mini goals, and you can even break it down to, monthly, weekly, and then daily to get an idea what you need to be getting done.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've eased into it. It really kind of taught you. But in the beginning, you were very creative.
Yeah. I'm still creative, I think.
I know you are. Yeah.
It's nice to have the numbers do kind of make me feel better about things now.
Right.
Because then it's like, I don't have to worry and think about it because I can just see it.
Right. What was the most stressful point of the business so far?
By far when the industry changed. Now it's about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that now. But you were saying earlier, selling a premise-based system, you got a box on the wall, that kind of thing. Up to that point, every 8 out of 10 systems we sold were there was a box on the wall that we would go deliver and set up and go do that.
Right.
And for that, let's just say as a number, we got $10,000 for that. It's not always the case. Don't get me wrong, but it could be more, it could be less. Let's just say round number 10 grand. Well, I'll get half of that up front. I would install that. I get the second half. So within a 2 week to 30-day period, I'd have $10,000 for that deal, right? Well, the hosted model is a little different. Hosted model is that deal is now maybe worth 13 or 14,000, but I only get $300 a month out of it. So I had a massive cash flow issue because it literally changed. It felt like month to month. It was probably over a quarter that this really shifted, but we went from selling 8 premise-based and 2 hosted deals to 2 premise-based and 8 hosted deals to the last 3 years, no premise-based at all. We don't even do it anymore.
Really?
So that whole industry shifted, and we were built on capital sales, and that's kind of how we ran our business, right? So when we didn't have that, we didn't have enough money to bridge between our revenue coming up to meet that. There was about a 6-month gap there that we were that we weren't going to make it with our existing. So we had to let half our team go. We really had to just scale back and start from scratch.
Oh my gosh!
This was
5 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was a hard day letting people go. But what we did is we used that opportunity to reset the company. That's when we initiated traction, started running traction. We took that opportunity and tried to make the best out of it. And it was the hardest yet and the most defining moment of the business.
It's amazing because 5 years ago you were into the business
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And you had to start all over again.
And it wasn't anything that we did. It was just the market shifted. The industry shifted.
So not having enough pile of cash to weather the storm until you could onboard enough people.
Right. And we were already doing hosted, you know what I mean? But and where bigger companies can swing that is because they got deeper pockets. You know, we're bootstrapped. We've never borrowed any money. Everything is our own. So it was harder for us to be able to transition that. Had that transition happened a little slower, we wouldn't have had to let anybody go because our recurring revenues were on the rise. Yeah. And it wasn't enough to handle the expenses we had.
So the customers, the clients, the marketplace told you, we don't care. We don't want on-premise.
Exactly.
We want to pay you a VIG every month.
And it's a set. Hey, listen here. And if I don't get it, I'm going to come over to your place. Yeah. You're talking to me. Yeah, exactly. So it shifted that quickly, and we had no choice but to react.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No line of credit, no nothing to kind of lean on? Or?
Yeah, we had a line of credit and everything, but it was one of these things where if we did lean on that, then we still may not have been able to get out of it because it was a thing where that debt had to be serviced at that point, and we just wouldn't have made it. You're
digging the hole.
We're just digging the hole even deeper. And what we found when you have to look at things like that, we started to see areas where we had people and had staff that we really didn't need. They were extra. They were overlapped, and
as the Brits say, redundant.
And we could consolidate those under roles, and we just all picked up extra hats, and it actually worked out. Like I said, worked out really well.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, from where you were, the percentage drop, was there a revenue percentage drop, and then you had to kind of come back out of that?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a percentage drop necessarily. It was just
flatlining, or
we kind of flatlined there for a little bit because it's strictly a cash flow thing. Like that year, we still had an up year.
Yeah,
like at the end of the year, we did better the year before. It was our expenses versus our cash flow at that time.
Right.
And we weren't getting that money in like we were getting.
So expenses in terms of overhead was still
there. Overhead was up here and our revenues were down here, which we could handle it when we were selling them because we were getting enough deals in that we would close, and that cash that we got from that was 10,000 versus 300.
Yeah.
You could service that no problem.
And like any business owner, entrepreneur, you also tried other things at the time. You tried the IT route. You were going to try that way, but it wasn't. Did it work out, or
no? It's just not. It's not what we want to be. We never got into this wanting to do anything but phones. That's what we've always wanted to do. Jeremy and I just like phones. We like this industry. We know it, and that's where we're comfortable.
Right.
In the beginning, we had to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But our goal was always just to do phones.
What was I guess I've been coining a term as of late. As of late, within the last 3 hours.
It's very late.
I call it the pool noodle moment. Where you come across such an idea that it's like the pool noodle.
Yeah.
Right. Such an obvious yet eccentric, weird idea that just seems to make sense and it takes off.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything like that in the last 5 years? I mean, the soft phone thing is definitely,
I mean, those are like industry things that come along. So we're not in development of any of that.
Right.
I think for us, the thing that nothing has snapped into place. Everything has been very difficult, trial and error, and putting in the time and failing tremendously. And, we've just never been lucky enough to have something just go, hey, that's actually working for us. No. It's always got to be an uphill battle with Magic Apple. It is. It's always an uphill battle.
But I mean, what's the latest uphill battle that you're facing at this point?
So I think the latest thing that we, is outside sales and developing that. Because, we've grown our business over the years just off referrals and having referral partners. Because we're good in that space, like small IT companies or small to medium-sized IT companies like us, because we don't do IT, but we do voice, and we do voice really, really well.
Right.
So they like that because we can come in, service the voice, we give them a cut off of it, and they don't have to worry about it, and we protect their customer base from other vendors to come in doing voice that also do IT. So it's a nice fit, and that's kind of what we've turned to that model now.
Yeah.
So our salespeople, we're transitioning them into, we call them VAR managers, so value added resale managers. So basically, what we've created is we offer a referral program that pays like a reseller program. So it's really nice for the VARs, the resellers, to be able to use this, because all they got to do is call us. We'll take care of everything from there. They don't have to sell anything.
And they get a monthly piece?
And they get a monthly piece off
Really?
of it. So
how do I not know about this?
It's fairly new.
Okay.
So we've just started developing everything, and that's why.
Right.
It's fairly late.
Right.
Later than 3 hours ago.
Right.
Fairly late.
Yeah. Not in the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember you remember when I was with you guys, I brought somebody to the table. You remember Bill Qualia? Remember, does that name ring a bell?
No, that name does ring a bell.
He is an older guy, really nice guy.
Yeah.
Brought him I met him at a networking event. And when he was talking to me, I was going, 20 minutes of him talking about what he does. And I'm going, I have no idea what he does. But, Matt and Jeremy will probably know, because I'm new to the business and still trying to figure it out. So I brought him in. We had a meeting, and I was like, and you were like, I don't know what he does either. And I'm going, wow. And then I met him at another network. It must have been a First Friday. Yeah. And he knew I did the video production for what I called VidSigs back in the day.
Yep, I remember that.
And he goes, I want to do one. I'm going, okay.
Great.
Okay. He's like, yeah, just, look at my website and, you'll be able to figure out. I'm like, dude, I have. No, I can't figure out what you do.
What did he do?
I'm going to get to it. So he comes to the house, and he gets in, and I had everything set up, and he's like, are you ready? I said, no. Bill, I got to be honest with you. I really don't know what to ask you. I have no idea what you do. Like, it was one of those moments. Just tell it to me like I'm 6.
Yeah.
Bake it down to the absolute ridiculous. And he did. And I got it. And I was like, I said, you ever hear of Ari Gold? He goes, from Entourage? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm like, you're the Ari Gold of the IT world here in Nashville. You're like a super agent, and you know all the top talent. And you can coordinate. And he's like, that's exactly what I do. And he all of a sudden had such a simple way to describe, I'm the Ari Gold of the IT world here in Nashville.
Nice.
And it's like, dude, perfect.
Yeah.
It's kind of a comic way to describe it, but at the same time, it's like, holy crap. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea what the hell you did.
Yeah, and for guys that don't watch Entourage, because I'm one, I've never watched Entourage. Right. So what does Ari Gold do? Is he just like a fixer?
Ari Gold is was the Jeremy Piven character. Jeremy Piven?
Yeah.
So if you watch Entourage, he's the Hollywood agent who is nurturing Adrian Grenier character. I can't remember his name. Vince.
Yeah.
His career and getting him all the real big movie deals and stuff like that. So he's just one of those agents that's just a super agent.
Gotcha.
So, Bill was Ari Gold.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And it's just one of those things that my goodness, what an aha moment for him. Hopefully I got to reach out to him and touch back, but you know. So with the podcast, I kind of planted the seed with you being on the last one of What's Your Problem? not many people in your space are doing a podcast, I would imagine, right?
I don't know of anybody else. Now, there's people that do like a lot of videos and stuff like that, but they're mainly more on the training and setup side of that kind of stuff, not a podcast, centered around this. There's other remote working podcasts out there I've seen, but I feel like ours is unique because it's more centered around the business and the business owner than the end user. Yeah. We'll talk about the end users and talk to end users, but we also talk to the businesses because that's where that decision's made. Yeah. If you want to be remote, if you're not remote, what's the benefit? Why should I do that? Why should I care about remote work?
Right.
But I've done it this way for 50 years. Why should I change?
And it's not something that it doesn't always have to be about remote working. It could just be about their business.
Right.
That just so happens to be remote working.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you've said a bunch of times. I'm just trying to uncover a rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. The tangent.
The
Always got to find the tangent.
That's funny because in our meetings we have a tangent button. That's a bad thing, but in the podcast it's a good thing.
Oh yeah, because you just never know. Yeah. I think yesterday I did an 1.5 hour long podcast, and it was about 5 or 6 tangents. Yeah. Yeah. I never even asked him what his problem was. I'm like, we've done enough. This is enough good stuff in here.
Yeah. But what if he had something he had to get to?
I think it came up naturally. And again, my impetus of what's your problem stems from the fact that I've always been pretty good at seeing the outside of businesses, of, personal brands and stuff. Okay, here's how you describe it. Here's what I would do. For myself, it's a lot more difficult. For anybody inside the bottle, it's a lot more difficult. But having that outside perspective, I think a lot of people have that general gifting is, okay, I see exactly what you do. But I've always just had a very, I guess, insane way to simply describe what people do. Yeah. What problems you solve. Stop get out of the weeds. Stop with the sky talk. I don't really care about any. I literally had a conversation with a guy who was in the SEO space. And I asked him, he was in BNI with me. I said, so tell me what it is that you really do. And I mean, 3-4 minutes later, my eyes were glazed over, and I'm like, dude, we got to bake this down to 10 or 20 seconds. And he's like, that's been my biggest 20 seconds. My biggest problem is that. I said, okay, what's the tip of the spear problem you solve? Yeah. What gets the most conversations going? Well, it's this. I said, just lead with that. Yeah. My friend Rich Redmond, right? Mm-hmm. His is an easy layup describing what he does. He just tells people, I'm in the music business. Oh, what do you do? Yeah. And they're all automatically intrigued. Yeah. But that's the thing you need to find as a business is I'm in the music business, and intrigue them to move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Getting into, you've obviously got your battle scars doing what you've done for the past 15 years, especially. I was not even aware that 5 years ago you guys had to reinvent. Oh, yeah. Like break the business and build it back again. Yeah. Completely unaware. What was like, some of the things that you're seeing from some of these influencers and business coaches these days that just rub you the wrong way, that just annoy the crap out of you? I don't know if I have anything that annoys me so much. There's stuff that everybody's got a new gimmick. Everybody's got I think the thing that is so complicated, I've been spending a lot of time since we're building out our sales department and all that. I've been spending a lot of time reading a lot of sales books and all that. And oh my God, are sales books so stupidly boring. Yeah. They're the worst. I'd rather read business books. I say listen because I do Audible. I'd rather listen to business books and listen to sales books any day because there's a difference, and they're awful. But I guess it's just a lot of how quickly things are changing and how many people feel like they have a handle on like what AI is doing in sales and what it's doing to sales and marketing and all that stuff. Because I get a ton of emails every day. Yeah. People trying to sell me stuff, and it's crazy how many of them are almost word for word the same now. Oh, really? Because AI is writing them and sending them, and you're getting all these, and then it's like, oh, these are. I know that's an AI one because I just read that one the other day. So now it's about how do you start to differentiate your messaging from that of the machine. You know what I mean? Right. How do you differentiate? So we had a guy that he started, some of the communications he was sending out was, first of all, this is not written by AI, and that would be like the subject line, and then start talking about what we do or something. That's an interesting differentiator to get someone's attention.
Yeah, and it's really because you when it comes to like cold email, and there's a lot of guys, I've met some guys that are so involved and love that whole concept of cold email, because it is kind of once you hack it, once you figure out how it works, then it's a good, you can do well with it.
Yeah.
But it just takes a lot of time and energy to figure that out. And I'm not that guy.
Do you work LinkedIn a lot?
I do. So kind of. So I have a company that I pay to run my LinkedIn, because they do it better than I do. And again, I don't do that very well. And so they get in and they work my LinkedIn. They use the Sales Navigator tool and they reach out to people and all that stuff on behalf of me and Magic Apple.
Do you sit there and like get on your account and then look at all the?
I do that.
Yeah.
I'll play with my account and I'll post and share and comment and all that kind of stuff. I do that.
Right.
I try to be fairly active, and then as a company, we try to be active on all the platforms that we're on.
Now, I think ultimately, especially in the world of AI, the more we humanly get involved, I think the more it's going to set us apart.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think this will be the pinnacle of marketing automation.
Yeah.
Will be AI, what AI can take the baton and run with from here. So, and that's going to be fairly common and consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Because AI is AI. It's not going to have different ideas that change things. And if it does, it'll do so across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where individually, we can still have creative ideas and thoughts personally face-to-face that AI can't do.
Right.
So I think that's where it's going to make more sense, is having those relationships. That's why I think the VAR program makes such a good sense for us, because now we're having conversations with people who already have those relationships in place.
Yeah.
And they're just making introductions, and they're warm introductions, and we're able to go in and truly get past that whole, it's not broken, I don't need to worry about it. It's just, I'm having a conversation because Jim said I needed to meet with you.
Right.
So I'm sitting down, and then we talk, and we can get through all the BS and see, can we actually help you or not?
Right.
So we can't help everybody. But we can determine if we can, and if we can, great. We get to move on from there.
And that's the thing, is that what I appreciate about knowing you guys is that in the beginning you really did establish core values and pillars of belief and stuff like that, which you kind of imbue through the is imbue the right word? This is me.
Imbibe.
Imbibe.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I use Grammarly for such things.
Right. I use AI for that.
That's exactly right. I use AI. I don't even type my own emails anymore.
AI, get back to the AI, it's a good thought starter.
That's exactly
right.
Like I was sending you stuff like about through one of the AI engines,
the radio commercial.
Yeah, and I was like, write me a 20-second radio commercial about, and it wrote me out one.
Yeah,
it was even talking about fade in music, and it gave me options. I was like, man, what a great idea starter.
It even used all the radio cliches.
It did.
Conveniently located.
Yes.
Family owned and operated.
Yes.
Since 1912.
All of that.
That's
and
right.
I was like, that's kind of cool.
Enjoy our friendly, knowledgeable staff who will treat you like family. Which, by the way, treating people like family is not good sometimes. Probably a lot of the time.
Depends on your family.
We'll treat you just like family. Great. I'm not going there. I'm not even going there with his freaking arm. But getting back to the other thing, with your beliefs and everything that you've spread through the company, they're very specific. They're very intentional. Ninja Quick Support, John Wayne Integrity, all those different things that you came up with, had to come from. It comes from the top, right?
Yeah.
And it has to be a belief that you hold near and dear.
Yeah. So, like a core value, the definition of a core value is not something you inspire to do or be. It's who you are in your DNA.
Yeah.
And so, and that normally doesn't change as long as your personnel doesn't change. Then your core beliefs won't change that much.
Right.
So, and that's what we really worked really hard on in the beginning. It wasn't sales. It was, who are we going to be?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? So Jeremy and I drove a lot of that because that was more important to me. And Jeremy is more, left brain, more technical. So he was more focused on how do we deliver a product that works consistently. You know what I mean? And I was more.
You're definitely the skipper. He's definitely the professor.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I need a Gilligan. That's really what I need.
Who's the Gilligan? Maybe it's Gage.
Maybe Gage is my Gilligan. I'd probably say Holly's my Gilligan.
Wow. Well,
Maybe.
I would say she's your Marianne. No, you're Ginger.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true.
And it fits.
Yeah, I think so.
She's Ginger.
Yeah.
With a lot of that stuff, that's something I really do appreciate, especially when you're coming up with cultural pillars and things of that nature. Getting people to buy into it. Was that tough? Or did they see it was corny at all? Or
yeah, I think that was a lot of it. I think a lot of it, the danger when you come up with this kind of stuff and how you roll it out, it can come across as flippant. It can come across as just, another idea that'll go away.
Right.
And so like anything you want to work, it's consistency that you have to stick with. And so when we did this, we just wrapped everything around these ideas of our core values, to the point when we bring on a new person, they actually do what's called a core value oath. And it's a thing that Jeremy and I wrote, and they read it out loud, and then we sign off on it. And it's kind of like, this is my entry into the secret society of Magic Apple.
Dude, you know what you should do?
Tell me, because I bet we've already talked about it.
I'm totally laughing at this. You got to set up a camera hidden somewhere. And then when they're ready to sign it, be like, okay, now this is where we cut open your hand and take out the knife.
Yeah.
And then just grab their hand and just bring it and just catch their reaction.
Yeah. So what we have done, I haven't brought a knife on anybody because I'm just waiting. That would just be risky. But what we have done is I'll be like,
like a dummy knife that, a Halloween knife.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, when we're bringing in to do the core value oath, that's one of the last things we do after, their little onboarding for the first couple of days. They sign the core value. And so we talk about, I'm like, hey, can somebody bring the plastic sheet in? It's not in here where it was. Hey, did you bring a different shirt? You might want to change that shirt. We say stuff like that just to kind of get them a little on edge or whatever. And I'll be like, have you ever signed anything in blood before? No? Okay. So it'll be a first time for you. It's great.
Yeah.
So we talk about all that.
It takes about a week for your hand to heal. You'll be fine.
Yeah. We build them up and that's, but then when they read it, because it's not all fluffy, there's some kind of, it says in there, hey, if I don't follow these values, I can be fired and terminated for not following them.
Right.
But if I do follow them, then I'll be raised up and praised by my team members and those I report to. So,
but it's, that's just a way to be a better person.
Yeah.
In a way, and just kind of have a discipline.
Yeah. And I think it's the consistency of that. Then we structure, bonuses around them as well. So like our tech team, our support staff, they get paid what's called Ninja Bucks. Yeah. So for every gold star comment, so every ticket they do, they send out a survey at the end of that ticket. And so for every gold star, they get like $5. The whole team gets it. And then for if they also leave a positive comment, that's a $2 kicker on top of that.
Right.
So, that's worth $350, $400 a month to everybody on the support staff for all those, for doing a good job.
Nice.
And so we incentivize those guys to do that. And then we take that and we put it on our social. So it's our social proof that, because what we decided to stand behind is the thing everybody says they stand behind, but nobody really does, which is good support. Right. And so to do that, we're like, well, how do we do that? And so we always ask customers when we're in our discovery meetings, talking to new prospects, we say, what are your buying criteria, right? You have your decision plan of how you decide things, your process, but what's your criteria? Yeah. And they always say it's a good support. And I say, well, how do you justify that? How do you manage that? Support? What does that mean to you? And well, that's a hard question to answer. So then we say, well, here's what we do. Here's who we are. Here's how we show. And I show them the socials and all the comments and the positive things that people have said, our customers have said about us going back years. And that helps to show, okay, maybe this company is a little different when it comes to that.
Well, you are different. I mean, right from the get-go when I first met you, the name has a massive, it's colorful.
Yeah, it is. We were into fruit stuff at the time. I don't know why.
The bowl of fruit.
Yeah, we had what it was going to be called mixed fruit.
Mixed fruit?
Yeah.
I thought it was the bowl of fruit.
That was mixed fruit.
There was one of the companies I work with doing a lot of video and a lot of culture videos. I just actually went out there last week amongst all the dealerships that they own. They always do a yearly contest called the Dream Contest. It's called the Dream Motor Group. Mm-hmm. And they hand out $50,000 to an employee in the company. And they're the second, I'm going to probably screw this up, the second largest privately held Mercedes-Benz dealer ownership in the country.
Wow.
So
they've got an extra $50,000 that they can hand out.
Yeah. Yeah, he just picked up two more dealerships in Cutler Bay and Coral Gables.
Wow. So
he's got Birmingham, South Florida, the Woodlands, Baton Rouge, and Music City, Nashville.
Wow.
And he owns the Ferrari dealership up here too. But he all about culture.
Yeah.
I mean,
so important, man.
But in dealerships, it's not a discipline.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that. I mean, the Mercedes dealership I worked for in the beginning, it had a culture. It was decent, but then it just quickly degraded. These guys are all about. I mean, they do the similar thing. The Ninja Bucks, they call it culture coins, and they hand them out to an employee that's gone above and beyond. It could be anybody. It could be the detailer, the porter, managers, whoever, salespeople that go above. And the stories that you hear that these guys do, I mean, going way out of their way when they don't have to. Yeah, they're just inspired to do it. They want to help the customer. Yeah, it's amazing the attitude that comes out of it.
I think it's like it makes it nice when your team and everybody knows exactly what your vision is, and that's shared, and everybody's rowing in the same direction at the same time. You've got the right people in the right seats, and everything's working the way it's supposed to be working. And that's a good feeling when you're doing that. Yeah, it doesn't last forever. It never does, right? I think I was watching a video that had Tom Hanks in it not too long ago, and he was at a round table of a bunch of other famous people, and he said, the saying, "This too shall pass."
Yeah, time is an ally,
but it's not always bad stuff. Right. The good stuff will also pass. Yep. And so you got to be grateful when it's good and really, really dig in and enjoy those times and learn from those just as much as you do the negative times. So I appreciated that statement. And so we try to really be grateful for where we are and what's going on and know that it's fleeting. So we just got to keep moving and keep turning knobs and clicking levers.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of what you do, I mean, you kind of have not competition locked out. I mean, are you in danger of Apple putting an app on their phone that, well, we can do business phones too, or, that kind of thing? I
mean, I guess that's always always an option and always an issue. Could happen.
Will they be as good as the specialists?
I don't think so. I mean, it's, there's a lot of money in our sector, and, this industry as a whole, it's like a $10 or $15 billion industry or something along those lines. Wow. Growing, at a pretty good clip every month. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in it. But it's definitely, I think what really is going on, I don't see them getting into that game. I see more and more people leaving and just relying on their cell phones. And then they come back because then they're like, oh yeah, this sucks. I got to give out my personal cell number to customers that'll call me on Saturday or Sunday. And this phone is now a burden.
Or I got to carry two phones.
Or whatever. This is just, hey, I've got the soft phone. I can set my time conditions. It ain't going to answer. It's not going to answer after 5 o'clock or whatever you want it to do. Right.
So I've had soft phone technology before in other businesses. And I got to say by far, it's like, whenever I would have issues or missed calls or stuff like that, it would like, well, did you have your soft phone app on? I'm going, well, it uses batteries if it's on. And no, I didn't have it on because it just shut off if I turned the phone off or something like that. Yeah. I can honestly say that I have not missed a call with you guys.
Yeah. Well, and it does work really well. And that technology has gotten better and better and more integrated and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, it's, the other side of that, it's good for your customers when you have that. Yeah. Because you get a call, oh, you need to talk to so-and-so about that. Well, let me transfer you. Yeah. I can just use my cell phone and transfer them to that person.
I'm on the beach right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you're going to need to hang up here. Call this number back. Oh, do you have a pen? Go get that pen. Right. Write this down. Read it back to me a few times. Make sure you didn't transcribe that wrong.
Oh, that annoys me.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's terrible customer experience.
Oh, gosh.
Where all you really just, the soft phone just says, oh, let me transfer you to so-and-so. There you go.
You ever call in, like recently I bought something for my Jeep, a lockable storage box for the back of the Jeep. It got to my house, wasn't the right size. Okay, now I got to take this 200-pound freaking safe and repackage it up and do the return process and everything. Over the weekend, the help from this particular organization was wonderful. Hey, we'll do this, we'll set it up, and they'll call you on Monday to see if there's an alternative. We'll help you out with the shit. Just great. So I didn't hear from anybody on Monday. I finally called on Tuesday, got a hold of somebody, completely different experience. Well, they set you up for a refund. I said, well, I was kind of assuming someone would call me to see if there was an alternative product. I don't mind paying extra for it, or if there's a little bit of savings, whatever works. I just want a solution. Yeah. And we're really sorry that no one, they just set you up for a refund. I'm going, but what I was expecting was someone, can we have
pick up the ball? I'm throwing you the ball.
I'm telling you what I want. Well, I'm really sorry about that, but they set you up for a refund. So you'll have to, I said, well, okay, where do I send this thing? Sir, They will tell you when like they got assertive
Oh
on it.
my
I'm going,
gosh.
okay.
That's what Google reviews are for.
And it's like, I think there's karma. Is it bad to not, if you have a bad experience, is it a good thing to leave a bad review? Because is it like bad karma because it can come back to your business?
I think it depends. No, I don't think so. And I wrestle with this. Like I've only left a few bad reviews.
Yeah.
But they were blatantly bad.
Yeah.
And I had, for example, I had one, and I'm not going to say who it was or anything. If you can Google it if you come across this company. But we had an event planned. Okay, we had this event planned for 4 months. The day of the event, this Yahoo calls me up and says, "Oh, we can't go out because I need a part." And I said, "Well, golly, did that just happen today?" "No, I've needed it for a while." And I was like, "And you're just going to tell me the day of my event that we have planned for 20-something people that you're not going to be able to accommodate us?" "Yeah, sorry, can't do it." Not only was it that, but we had hired another company that he suggested to use for the food, and we had to cancel the food.
Wow.
So it was this whole thing just poured it all the way around, and I was like, "Are you going to do anything for me?" "Sorry, man, what do you want me to do?" She was just a jerk about it, and I was like,
gosh.
"No, I guess at this point I have no choice but to, because I would want to. I would want to know that.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at him, I know that this is an issue, and if I'm going to hire him, I may even ask him about it, because I do that. I'll look at bad reviews, and if somebody's trying to sell me something, I'll be like, "Well, I've read a couple reviews, and this said this about you guys.
Yeah.
What did you do to fix that? Or what can you tell me about that story?"
And
I'll
in a
get
conversation like that, do you say, you do realize I'm going to give you a bad review over this? Are you aware?
Yeah, I will tell them it's not a hidden thing. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm going to hit you with the review because you're just not really giving me anything here. You're not helping me."
Yeah.
And then small companies, they'll do something, and it gives them an opportunity, because we've gotten bad reviews. We've gotten reviews that don't make sense. We had one review where a guy complained that we sent him a cutoff letter. Well, you hadn't paid your bill in 90 days. So you get a cutoff letter. That's how it works.
Yeah.
We never cut your service off. We just sent you a letter saying we're going to cut it off if you don't pay.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff you do, and that's fine. You hit me with those, and I'll respond to those reviews, and I always comment on the reviews and thank for the good reviews and explain the bad reviews. And if there's something I didn't know about, please give me a call. I'm the owner. I'll work with you to get it fixed.
Yeah.
That's all people want to see. Nobody's going to have all 5 stars. Everybody makes mistakes. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's about how you handle it.
Yeah.
And if you don't handle it well, that's what the review is for. That's the thing that the buyer now has, to be able to just be like, "Okay, well, this is how I make myself feel better for the issue you caused me," or whatever.
And we'll end off on this. Do you believe that there's a karmic approach to sales calls, cold calls, and people are calling you? Like sometimes I'll get a call, I know it's a cold call, and I'm like, I should just take it for good karma and just, humor them.
Maybe I'm just not,
because I do the same thing.
Guy. I don't know, but like I'll get
just good juju, I guess.
Yeah, if I get a call, I'll usually answer, and I'll give them the first opening salvo to hook me.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they don't. And if they do, they do. And it's that I give them that opportunity. If I'm at a place where I can. If I don't, I'm not worried about it. I'll just hang up. They can hit me another way.
Right.
My guys don't get answered on the first ring. It takes anywhere from 8 to 12 on average, 8 to 12 touches before somebody will agree to meet with you.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. So we build everything around how quickly can we get to 8 touches.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes even with door-to-door salespeople, it's like, it's the most invasive sales technique ever, but it's like Valpak. Somehow it's working because it keeps on. They keep doing it.
And it was so. Our neighborhood is a neighborhood you're not supposed to be soliciting in, yet they still do.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Some people like slam the door in their face or whatever. I don't do that. I always answer the phone. I'm polite. And I'm like, "Hey man," I was like, "We're not interested." And just so you know, they don't solicit in this neighborhood, so somebody will probably be yelling at you or something.
No.
So just giving you a heads up. Best of luck to you. I had this guy the other day came and he rang the doorbell. He wouldn't stop ringing the doorbell. So he ticked me off right out of the bat.
Oh my gosh.
So I answered the door. I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, sir, I'm in the neighborhood." I'm like, "I'm not interested, brother." I said, "You just rang my doorbell like 15 times. I'm not interested."
Cable pester God.
Yeah. He was like, "I totally understand. Do you mind getting me a bottle of water?" And I was like, "You want me to get you a bottle of water?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, hold on." Shut the door, go get him a bottle of water. He gives me his old bottle. He goes, "Do you mind throwing this away?" And I was like, "Anything else I can do for you? Would you please get off my porch now?" I was just, by the time of that, the look on my face had to be like just stabbing daggers at this guy. And I was like, you're probably pretty good at this because you didn't pick up what I was putting down at all.
He probably didn't care. Yeah.
He wanted a bottle of water and he got it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I should really, think outside the box and invite some of these guys on the podcast. That might not be a bad
You know
idea.
what? You could be sitting in here working, a guy knocks on the door. Why don't you come in and sit and be on my podcast for a minute?
Yeah. Let's talk about what you do.
Yeah, I want to dig into what you do. And
What, is this really work? I mean,
How many doors do you have to hit before somebody will actually talk to you?
You realize there's a better way, right? I mean, you don't have to be out there. I mean, you get great exercise. You're young, but I mean, dude.
And they're always young guys.
Oh, yeah.
They're always young and they're always sweating.
Because they're stupid.
Yeah.
They're not exactly, they don't exactly have the most promise in life. So they kind of have to, this is something that has high result and payout if they make the sale typically.
I mean, they can learn a lot from it. I mean, did you ever do door-to-door stuff? Because I did.
I mean, the closest thing I did was that was somewhat door-to-door, and it wasn't even really at all. It was Rainbow Vacuum.
Yeah.
When I was 18, 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't door-to-door. It was referral-based, looking back on it. But, you started with your family and your friends, and then you started branching out from that. Because in the beginning, it taught you to just give me 5 names. They'll get the same exact gift you're getting, the same exact presentation. You're going to see that it's no pressure. If you only want to give me 2 names, you reserve the 3 for the end, that's fine. But you would typically just get 5 to 10 names or something like that. Yeah. And you get your next list of people. Hey, so-and-so was through the same thing. They enjoyed it. They suggest I call you.
Yeah.
So they were warm referrals in a way. It was actually a brilliant maneuver.
Yeah. My brother did Rainbow.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's not really door-to-door sales, but it's a smarter way.
In-home sales.
Yeah. Smarter way to go about it. But God, I couldn't do it. Did you?
Yeah. So I did. There was a cable company. My brother got me into a lot of stuff. So my brother was. We both did. We were cable installers, so we'd climb the telephone poles and do all that stuff. And as part of that, we would go and we would sell cable subscriptions. So door to door, we'd go to a apartment complex, knock on the door. If they weren't there, leave the little flyer in their thing and just go, door to door selling cable.
Yeah.
And so that was mine, door to door experience.
Well, there was one thing that you, there was a sales technique that you actually told me about, and it was it called the cockroach method?
Yeah, roaching.
The roaching.
So a company, it was such a brilliant concept, and I still use part of it today, but like you would have things like you would call and you'd get somebody on the phone and the line might be something like, hey, listen, my name's Matt. I'm with Magic Apple. My boss told me to give you a call today. You guys are going through some changes I was supposed to help you with. And they're like, who are you with? I said, Magic Apple. We're a telephone company. Probably who handles that for you guys? Oh, that's Bob so-and-so. Let me get you on with Bob. Same thing with Bob. Get on there. Hey, Bob, it's Matt. Hey, Dale, my boss, told me to give you a call. I was supposed to follow up on some changes you guys are going with. Says you need some help with something. I'm here. What can I do for you? Well, who are you with? It's that confusion and getting them to start talking. And that was the whole idea. It was kind of tricky, but it was interesting because if it led to something, then it was positive. If it didn't, if there was nothing there, there's still nothing there. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then they also had these other things like you do a smoker's call. So you go to the back of the building where the guys go smoke, and you say, "Hey, man, it's like I'm supposed to be having a meeting here because I do phone system. I'm supposed to have a meeting here with the guy, but I can't remember his name. What's that guy's name?" Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, that's Bob." It's like, "Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate it." Walk around the front. "Yeah, I'm out with Magic Album here to see Bob." And they're like, "Oh yeah, Bob's up on the." I did it one time to it was like a eight-story building of the Blue Cross Blue Shield in Arkansas. When I was back in Arkansas, I started at the bottom and I ended up in the president's office, sitting across from him. And he looked at me. He just goes, "How the hell did you get here?" That's all he said. He goes, "How the hell did you get here?" And I just said, at that point, I just laid my cards on the table and told him exactly what it was. And he goes, "That's pretty smart." He goes, "So if I called Dale Camerick, would he even know you were here?" And I'd be like, "No, I don't think so." He goes, "That's funny."
Did you get the business?
No, of course not. But
now get out of my office.
Yeah, now basically there was no opportunity there, but it was still fun. It was a neat exercise.
Oh my God, that's what you call thinking outside the box for sure.
Yeah, I mean it can be a little like it kind of a little, but you're younger and you're okay with that kind of stuff when you're younger. Like we used to. This is also a little here, but we worked for another big telecom carrier, and there's buildings that they won't let you solicit in.
Yeah,
but if you put on a hard hat and a vest, with a clipboard,
You're legit.
and you say I'm with the phone company, they'll let you in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. And we would go in there because like we'd want to light up a building and bring fiber in the building. They said we need to know how many potential customers we have. So that's how we would do that. You would take a clipboard that had a survey on it, and we would say with the phone company, and they wouldn't ask questions. And we walk in, and we could ask people, hey, we're fixing to light the building. Would you guys be interested in looking some additional bandwidth, whatever, and start having those conversations around that office.
Doing a tool belt with a butt set hanging off it will get you
stuff.
everywhere. That'll get you in the White House. I mean,
It worked for Bruce Lee, if you remember in that movie. He was a telephone repair guy.
Oh, really?
In Game of Death. I think it was Game of Death, right? But yeah, he was a telephone repair guy. And you can get anywhere near a telephone repair guy.
I always thought about trying to get backstage at concerts.
I bet you could.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
I've actually, in counting lights, just going in there with my iPad and just, looking around like this and just doing this I would just go in to be like, oh, is this room locked? Can someone get me in here? I just got to count the lights in here.
Yeah.
And there was, let me get somebody for you.
Yeah.
I got an iPad. That's it. And I'm looking up counting lights. So that's a T8. That's 33 watts. Okay. And that's
some people use
crazy.
those power for evil. We're trying to use it for good.
Right. Yeah. Well, sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty good. That's an amazing conversation. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I completely forgot what it was, which happens.
Men of a certain age.
Yeah. You get to that age and it happens. How can people find and follow you? Magicapple.com?
Yeah, our website's magicapple.com. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
And then follow the podcast as well. You can get to that at thewanderingworkerpodcast.com. And we're all on all the socials as well, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're actually, I'm actually going to check out your Insta real quick. Magic Apple. Come on. Where'd it go? Magic Apple Tech is on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And you're posting, you're pretty up to date.
Yeah. We should have, we usually post at least once a week.
Oh, how am I not following you? Here we go. Now I'm following you.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, your culture stuff, you got to do more once a week, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's just, it is what it is right now. You got to get more time we're trying to get a bunch of stuff off the ground. And so we got to do more, but yeah.
I'd be curious to see how many other phone system companies are out there that are actually active on Twitter, Instagram, that kind of thing.
Not many. I mean, some are like, it's more on the carrier side or the support for people like us side.
Right.
Not a lot of companies that do what we do a lot of that, at least that I've seen. They do the bare minimum, that's a presence. Like they'll have a blog page that has a couple blogs on it. We put out new content every month. We're putting, a couple blogs out. Oh yeah.
Really? Because that helps your SEO.
Yeah.
And more Google sees that your website is active.
Yeah.
And now that you got podcast episodes going to be loading up there, that should help too.
Absolutely.
Because you can actually turn those episodes into blogs. You can transcribe them.
Yeah.
So something to think about.
No, that's a great idea.
Because even if people visit the page, who cares? Just put it up there as content.
Yeah.
So there you go. Magicapple.com and thewanderingworker.com to subscribe and listen to Matt's podcast. If you're a business who embraces or is thinking about embracing the remote work lifestyle and implementing it in your business, great podcast to listen to, and maybe reach out to Matt, see if you can become a guest on the podcast as well. Because we're gearing up to try to get you to 20 episodes, then 50, then 100, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And there you go, buddy.
Yeah,
and,
man. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. And of course, what's your problem podcast.com. We're looking, like we said in the beginning, for 10,000 average downloads per episode per year. So kind of, ramping up to that number. Any way you can help us, if there's anything we can do for you, let us know or hit us up there at whatsyourproblempodcast.com. If you think there's somebody here in Middle Tennessee that needs to be on the show, hit me up. Let me know. I mean, I'm not very discerning. I don't know if that's
as
a bad
proof
thing.
of today's guest shows.
Whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Thank you, Matt, for coming all the way out here.
Thanks, buddy.
Again, buddy.